Okay, we're live, and happy Dog Day, everybody. And we're so excited because we get to do this. This has become...
That's okay. Is your belly on? Oh, shh. Okay. I don't see Shannon anywhere.
Oh, I see her.
There she is. Oh, Shannon. But we can't hear her. But you've muted yourself, Shannon.
There we go. Okay.
Oh.
Now, did you not hear me at all the whole time? Okay.
No, you're.
So I'm excited that we get to celebrate Dot Day together. Of course, Google Hangout, we always have a few little snafus to get started, but I think now we're really good. And so when we're not talking, if we could all mute our little screen, because then we can be sure that we hear everybody. But we're excited because we get to celebrate Dot Day with our friends Mrs. P and Mr. Forbes, and this has become a fun tradition. And this year we have even new people. And so I think to start, why don't we go down the line and we'll have all of you just briefly introduce where you're from and what grade your kids are, and maybe the name of your school if you want to. So why don't you start, Michelle, because I see you on the side.
Good morning, everybody. I am Michelle Griffith. I'm the lead media specialist in Brazos-Port in Texas. I'm not actually in a school this morning. I am actually in a hotel room in Dripping Springs, Texas. My daughter's best friend's getting married, but I couldn't miss Dot Day, so I'm joining y'all from here.
We're glad you are. Okay, Heather, why don't you go ahead?
So we are in Amana, Iowa, and these are 5th graders.
Hi.
And
Okay, and Jessica. I'm gonna unmute her. There now. Can we hear her now? Sherry, why don't you go ahead while Jess gets hers unmuted?
I'm from Cape Elizabeth, Maine.
And we are 4th graders from Pond Cove Elementary School.
Whee! We're glad you guys are joining us. We haven't met you before, so this will be fun.
What do we say?
Thank you.
And how about Van Meter?
oh. All right, good job.
We're going to keep reading.
We are 2nd graders from Van Meter, Iowa.
What's the library? Here we go. Pete has never been to the library before. Does Pete worry? Yes. No.
Because I can hear it on the speaker.
Now. Okay, you guys ready? I'm reading it.
I think that's Jess's. They're trying to figure something out, so I'll mute them. But that's Mrs. Isaacson's class, and she is in Dallas Center, Iowa, and they are 1st graders. And so I can see that she's getting a little help, so we'll let her do that. And Crystal, go ahead.
Okay, we are with Miss Crystal Doolin. We are Miss Lawson and Miss McCart's kindergarten class in Corbin, Kentucky.
Good to meet you. And Lisa.
Howdy, we're from Stephenville, Texas, from Hook Elementary.
And I was lucky because I was in your library last week in Texas, that very library. So we're glad that you're here too. So I'm going to let our special guests, Mrs. P and Mr. Forbes, take over now for our special Dot Day Skype.
Whee! I love Dot Day, don't you, Mr. Forbes?
I get dotty for Dot Day. Hooray, today is Dot Day.
And I couldn't help but notice, are those dots on your tie?
Oh my goodness, you're right. I kind of went a little bit overboard here. Lots of dots everywhere.
I think it's very important. You know, I like Dot Day because, well, it's a good reminder to me that I can be anything I want. All I have to do is make my dot. Doesn't matter if I'm 5 years old or I'm 105. I can make dots all the time and connect them and create something really wonderful. It's just important to be creative. And I was wondering, I think we should read the book, The Dot, so that we know what's going on. All right.
The Dot. Just happen to have one right here.
Well, mine's on my screen. You could show pictures if you'd like. That would be wonderful.
I'll show the pictures too.
In case people don't know, it's called The Dot by Peter H. Reynolds. Oh, a wonderful writer. I've met him. He has a bookstore called The Blue Bunny. The Blue Bunny Bookstore. And he's written this wonderful book, The Dot. And here's how it goes. Art class was over, but Vashti sat glued to her chair. Her paper was empty. Vashti's teacher leaned over. Let's see, what does that look like? There it is. Okay. Now, Vashti's teacher leaned over the blank paper. And here's what she said. Ah, a polar bear. A polar bear in a snowstorm, she said. Oh, very funny, said Vashti. I just can't draw. Her teacher smiled. Just make a mark and see where it takes you. Oh, Vashti grabbed a marker and she gave that paper a good strong jab. There, she said. Well, her teacher picked up the paper and studied it carefully. She pushed the paper toward Vashti and quietly said, now sign it. Vashti thought for a moment, well, maybe I can't draw, but I can sign my name. Now, the next week, when Vashti walked into art class, she was surprised to see what was hanging above her teacher's desk. It was the little dot she had drawn, her dot, all framed in swirly gold. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, I can make a better dot than that, thought Vashti. Well, she opened her never-before-used set of watercolors and set to work. Oh, she painted and painted a red dot, a purple dot, a yellow dot, a blue dot. Oh, the blue mixed with the yellow, she discovered that she could make a green dot. Oh, Vashti kept experimenting. Lots of little dots in many colors. Now, as the school art show a few weeks later, Vashti's many dots made quite a splash.
Look at all those dots.
Whoa, that's an art show to be proud of, isn't it? Whee! Well, Vashti noticed a little boy gazing up at her. You're really a great artist. I wish I could draw, he said. Oh, I bet you can, said Vashti. Me? No, not me. I can't draw a straight line with a ruler. Vashti smiled. She handed the boy a blank sheet of paper and said, show me. The boy's pencil shook as he drew his line. Vashti stared at the boy's squiggle, and then she said, please sign it. The end. That's the thing. It doesn't take much. Now, I read that book, Mr. Forbes, and I thought, well, all right, that makes sense, but I don't know if just a dot makes well, for anything really artistic. So I drew one. I drew a dot.
Good dot.
Yes.
Excellent dot.
I punched it on the paper just like Vashti did. And then I signed it, Mrs. P. Or in this case, I wrote by Mrs. P. because it felt very much like true art. So after I did that, I was sort of inspired. And then I took those little dots and I took an old teacup and I put it on the paper and I drew around it. And then I got this beautiful piece of artwork, which I am calling Surprised Boy with Freckles. You see that?
Those look like dots on his face.
Yes.
Freckles.
And then I signed it. Might be backwards, but it says by Mrs. P. And of course, Surprised Boy with Freckles, which is very important. Now, after that, Mr. Forbes, I was so inspired that I took my teacup and I put it on the paper and I drew another circle. And this time I thought to myself, I'm going to make a rabbit. Yes, a rabbit, a surprised rabbit. Of course, what happened was, you know, I've never really looked at a rabbit close up, so it kind of looked more like a cat with rabbit ears. So I decided to call it a cracket. It's a cracket, a crabbit, cracket, crabbit, rabbit. And I signed my name, of course, because once you claim it, that's it. Oh, now this is the good one. I got really excited when I looked at my teacup because I didn't just have the big hole. I also had a small circle on the bottom. So I drew a bunch of, yes, here's small circles. I drew all, and then I colored them in, and I called it the balloons. You see it? They almost seem to float away, don't they? Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you. Now, and this is my final one. When I knew that I could use the bottom of my cup again, I drew even more. And look, oh my goodness. Oh. Circles are part of everything. I drew these and, you know, the vividness and the color and the reality of these, the reality of these, it made me think of that famous painter, Claude Monet, and his garden at Giverny, which I was just at a couple weeks ago. I can tell you, this looks exactly like flowers I saw in the garden. So you see, what I realized was the book was right. Just one dot inspired me to a whole afternoon of creativity. And maybe I'm not the best artist in the world, but I certainly had a good time. And I might be the best storyteller in the world. You know, what I like to say to myself is, what are you good at? And I say, well, I'm good at making friends. I'm good at sitting on a chair. I'm good at flowers that look like Giverny and Claude Monet. And I'm wondering, Mr. P, my friend, Mr. P, Mr. Poverton, who lives down the street, told me, I'm very good at going to my mailbox and picking up my mail. So, Mr. Forbes, I'm wondering, what are you good at?
Oh, I'm good at a few things.
Yes.
I'm very good taking my dogs out. I like taking them on a long walk.
I bet they like.
And I find, we have fun. We chase the ball. We chase squirrels. We do that sort of thing. It doesn't take a lot of work, but I get creative when I'm in the woods with them. I start thinking about what's there, what are they doing out there, what are they chasing. So I use my imagination, just like you've done with those dots. And I find one of the things I like to do is take pictures with my little camera on the cell phone. And it's amazing how many dots you can find out there on the leaves, on a rock, on the road, things that are man-made and things that are nature-made. We find you made balloons that are made by man, and you made flowers made by nature. There you go. See? It's all your imagination, and it can start with a dot. Anybody can do it. That's the thing. Anybody can do that. Just a little bit of imagination and off you go.
I can't imagine anyone not being able to draw a dot. And
Yes.
you hit on a very important point when you were like talking about it. You know, if you don't do it, if you just don't go out and walk the dogs, well, it won't happen. Well, of course, and the dogs will be very angry if you don't walk them. But
Oh, yes.
I think that the important thing to remember, whether you're 5 years old or, again, I'm thinking 125 because, you know, 100 is the new 40, they're telling us.
I agree.
I think that the important thing is if you don't do it, you'll never know if you can do it. It just doesn't work to go, you know how Vashti was just sitting there going like, I can't draw. Well, how do you know if you don't try? I mean, she ended up with a dot framed in a big swirly gold frame like you'd see in a museum. That's extremely important art.
It is. And you know what else? Her teacher encouraged her. Her teacher looked at that dot and said, now sign it.
Now
She gave Vashti encouragement to say, oh, yes, I can do this. So we all have people who've helped us in life. I'm sure you've helped a lot of people. I know Shannon Miller certainly, my goodness, think of all the people she's helped, encouraged, helped them find imagination.
You know, imagination is one of those things. You know, I like to talk about reading and writing and singing and writing poetry. You know, every morning when I wake up, because I have 1,375 pets, there's always a different pet on the end of my bed. Now, I keep my fingers crossed that it's not the crocodile, because nobody wants to really wake up with a crocodile on the end of their bed. But when I do wake up, I see what pet is there, and then I create a poem about it. And so this morning, when I woke up, here's the poem I wrote. There on the end of my bed is a big brown walrus whose name is Ned. He is wearing a yellow necktie. When I said why, he said, why not? And I said, ouch. And he said, what? And I said, you're really heavy. You gotta get out. Ouch. He was crushing my toes, you see, and dripping a lot of water on my quilt. So it was a really fun day. Now, I like to take those poems and a pen, and I write them down. I have a big brown walrus on the end of my bed. And then I save them for Poem in Your Pocket Day, which is another particularly wonderful day. And then I get them out and I read them to all my friends or my mom and my dad or the grocery store clerk or whoever, because I think sometimes people are really busy and they might not have a chance to inspire me. So I have to inspire myself, and I have to keep my imagination strong. I know you know this, Mr. Forbes.
Oh, yes. It's like a muscle.
Yes.
You have to work all your muscles all the time. And imagination is one of them. But once you get going, oh my goodness, you just can't stop. Once you start writing poetry, you never want to stop. You start doing dots. Look what Vashti did. She started discovering all the colors, the different ways she could make a dot by sometimes painting around a place and making a non-dot. See? Starts right there.
There it was, the dot. You see it, the all-important dot. Now, I play a game called the word game. And the word game helps me build my imagination. So I think of a word. Today I'm going to think of pickle. Pickles make me think of sandwiches. And sandwiches make me think of bread. And bread makes me think of a baker. And a baker makes me think of cakes. Well, and then I say to myself, well, I think I'll write a story about a baker who makes cakes out of pickles. Yes, and nobody knows that they're full of pickles. And he takes them around the world and he enters them into baking contests. And he always wins. And everyone says, oh my goodness, these cakes are delicious. What is in them? And the baker says, pickles, just pickles. You see, if you keep your imagination strong, you're always ready to tell a story or take a dot and turn it into something like a crabbit. You just
like your famous crabbit, like one of your pets. Maybe that's going to be the new pet, is a crabbit. Down at the end of the bed in the morning.
Crabbit. I think I'll call it Alan. Alan the Crabbit. And I'll hang it on the wall, and it will be my pet.
Good.
Now, Mr. Forbes, I don't know about you, but I like to sing. And I like to make up songs. Is anyone there? Raise your hand. Who likes to make up songs? That's what I thought. You know, it's very easy if you keep your imagination sharp. Yes, everybody. Oh, I see everyone's raised their hands. Mr. Forbes, I'm wondering, what should I sing about today? Is there something that maybe Dot Day? I could sing about Dot Day.
Well, let's start one. We can sing, hooray, today is Dot Day.
Hooray.
Make a dot, everyone.
Dot, dot,
hooray,
dot,
today is Dot Day.
Today, Dot Day. Hooray for Dot Day today. Hooray. Oh, there's many styles. Maybe.
Oh, yes.
Let's see. Here's a country western song. Well, today is Dot Day, and I'm so glad I'm gonna get a cow and run around making dots on the prairie all day long. There. And also, I'm sure another style that you particularly enjoy, as I do, is opera. And today there's a dot is following me around. I'm here with a dot with a frown, and I'm going to turn it into balloons. Okay, opera.
Excellent, excellent.
And then my personal favorite, rock and roll Dot. Oh, I'm a dot and I'm playing on my guitar today. I'm a dot and I'm playing on my guitar. I'm a dot, it's that day, and it's dot, dot. Wow!
Yeah.
Anybody could
bestseller.
Bestseller. You know, that's what happens.
Going golden.
Well, I think that I hope we've touched the important things, and I'm hoping that people have questions for us, but I think that we just can't say strongly enough. It's about imagination and just trying. If you don't try, you'll never know. And I think the bottom line, and I know you'll agree, Mr. Forbes, is to have fun.
Well, that's
have fun
it.
while you do it. Yes.
So much fun you can have doing these things. Now, maybe we should go to some of our classes, see if they have some questions for us about imagination or Dot Day or singing or all the things we've touched on. Wow.
And also, I just want to say about you, Mr. Forbes, what's really amazing, and you might not know this about Mr. Forbes, is that he paints beautiful pictures with words. His words make you go, oh, I can see that. Yes, you can be an artist and be a writer. He creates images with words, writing, singing, dancing, all of it. As long as you're living a creative life and having fun. Great. Now, does anyone have questions? Anybody? What my favorite color is? Rainbow. Yes. Any other questions?
Hi.
Hello.
Hey, I'm Miss S. I teach 5th grade in Amana, Iowa, and I have a couple 5th graders who have questions for you. We'll start with Simon, and this is a question for, is it for Ms. P or Mr. Forbes?
Mr. Forbes.
Mr. Forbes. So Simon, come on over.
Hey, how are you?
Good. You?
Very good. What's your question?
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, what inspires you most?
What inspires me most? Ooh, that's actually a really good question. I find inspiration all around me because I listen with my ears, I look with my eyes at things going on around me, and then I'll also check into my brain and see what my imagination is cooking up with all those different things. The words I hear, the songs I hear, the birds I see, all those things, they all help.
Good question. Oh,
Okay,
thank you.
again for Mr. Ford. And this is our 5th grader, Sina. She's coming over here in just a minute.
Hi. So my question is that how long have you been writing poetry, and when will you retire from it?
Oh, I've been writing poetry most of my life in one form or another. Now I have a few books, so I'm very happy with that. And guess what? I'm never going to retire.
Really? That's good.
No. When you're creative, I mean, to my last dying breath, I'll be writing a poem. And that's a long way off.
Thank you.
That's right.
Good.
Hi, I'm Mrs. McInnes, and I'm a 4th grade teacher, and I have 2 4th graders. They have a question for each of you. One question for each.
Hi, my name is Joseph, and I have a question for Mr. Forbes. And it's, what's your favorite part about International Dog Day?
My favorite part is right here, right now. Being with all of you, celebrating. We're so grateful for Shannon for putting all this together. The chance to be with all of you, to be with my friend Mrs. P too. But really, it's all about being with you guys. That's the best part of all.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Molly, and my question is for Mrs. P. What will help us be good writers?
Very good question, Molly. You know, what will help you be a good writer is if you just go outside in the summer and lie down in the grass and stare at the clouds and let all those silly thoughts that are in your head. Sometimes we have silly thoughts that say, oh, I don't know how to write, or, oh, do people like me? Am I pretty? Can I dance? Can I sing? And just let those thoughts go away, stare at the clouds, and your imagination will fill your head, and you'll have ideas to write about all kinds of things that you didn't even know you knew about, like who invented the telescope, or someone who dances with reptilian snakes and wear silver shoes. You never know. If you clear your mind, you can be a very good writer. And then, of course, the important thing, you don't have to keep your cravat close, but I would keep a piece of paper nearby and a pen so that the minute I have an idea, I go, oh, I'm going to write about a woman who wears silver shoes and dances with reptilian snakes or whoever. And I write that down. I keep a book of my ideas, and then I write stories. Good question, Molly. Thank you.
This is Draven from Corbin Primary, and he has a question for you.
How do you write a book?
Oh, how do you write a book? Well, you can write a really good book if you can tell a story. Who there can tell a story? Raise your hand. Has anyone there ever told a story? I imagine everyone. Well, if you can tell a story, like I said, I keep my imagination really strong. Pickles, bakers, cakes, donuts, things like that. And then I go, well, I'm going to tell a story about a baker, you know, like I said, who makes a cake out of donuts. And then the minute I tell the story, I just start to write it down. Once upon a time, I knew a baker who only made cakes out of pickles. You see, my story is half done. And once I have it all written down, then I take a stapler, if I have an adult near, and I staple all the pages together. And then I say, hello, family, excuse me, I've written a story. Yes, I've written a story, and I'm putting it on the kitchen table for everyone to read. Now I'm a published author. It's really that simple. Yeah. Any more questions?
One more. We have 2nd graders in Van Meter who have a question.
My name is Lucy, and I have a question for both of you. Is it hard to be an author?
Oh, Mr. Forbes, is it hard to be an author?
Is it hard to be an author? That's an interesting way to look at it. I don't think it's hard to be an author because I like to write. I like to go and find what's rattling around in my brain sometimes. And I, like Mrs. P does, it's very important to write it down because sometimes those ideas turn into, why, they turn into a whole book. Sometimes they won't. But it's not, I don't think it's hard because I have fun doing it. It's hard work sometimes. We work hard, but we like what we're doing.
It's not any harder to be a writer than it is to pick up a pen. Oh, that was easy. Pick up a piece of paper. Oh, now I'm going to write some words. Oh, I have a crabbit named Alan, and Alan likes to eat dog food. I don't know why. He says it's because it's crunchy. You see, you just write it down. Pick up a pen, pick up some paper, just look around, almost ignore yourself. What am I doing? I don't know. Oh, look, I wrote a story. It's pretty easy to be an author. As easy as it is to breathe. Do we have any other questions today?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Van Meter students are going to have to leave now, but thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye. Jess, do your kids have a question?
Yes, they do. We're here from Dallas Center Grimes Elementary, and I have some students that want to ask some questions as well.
Sure.
Okay, cool.
What kind of books do you write?
Oh, Mr. Forbes, I call them books full of arty words, but what do you call them?
Oh, I write books about animals that sometimes I make them up and sometimes they're real. They're books about, I write poetry, words that rhyme. And then I also write, well, I write novels too. I just write all the time.
I like to write. I write books that say, you know what? I know you thought you were going to leave, didn't you? Well, I write books that say, you know what? You're perfect just the way you are. You couldn't be any better. You are so uniquely you. There's no one else like you in the whole world. You're special. So I think that's important to know. And then I write books with words that rhyme. And then I write books that I put pictures in, cut them out, put glue on them, put them down. I write books about anything I can think of because, like Mr. Forbes says, it's fun.
Fun.
More questions, please.
I have a question from, we lost Stephenville, Texas, but they're watching the live event. So their question is, what is the mark that you made that you're most proud of?
Ah, Mr. Forbes, what are you the most proud of?
The mark?
Down on your bottoms. Everybody in the front, sit on your bottoms.
I would say the most proud is raising our son. That to me was the biggest job I've had and the one I've enjoyed the most. It was hard, it was fun, it was wonderful. Now he's a grown-up, and what's amazing how they turn out in the end. That's my most proud. Now I'm very proud of my books. I'm proud of my wife and her ballroom dancing, and I'm proud of the doggies. But, you know, that's my most proud thing. How about you, Mrs. P?
Let's see. I think I'm most proud of the fact that I understand so clearly that being able to communicate is the most important thing about being a human being. You know, when you're little, you go, I'm hungry, I'm cold. But as you grow up, well, you need to say important things that are on your mind, and you want people to be able to hear you and understand what you're saying. So if you learn to communicate when you're younger by singing or writing poetry or writing stories or telling stories, then you've set the path for a really, really life of adventure, a good life of adventure. So I'm really I'm really proud of the fact that I know that reading and writing and that I'm on a great adventure and that it's important that I enjoy myself as well as help others. I think I'm proud of that. And I also like, well, I like all my pets, and I like the fact that Wednesday is Blueberry Pancake Day. I'm very proud of Blueberry Pancake Day. So, any other questions? Oh, I see one waving their arm in the back.
The students in Maine have to go to lunch now, but we want to say thank you.
And happy Dot Day.
Happy Dot Day.
Happy Dot Day to you, Mainers.
We were honored to
Enjoy your lunch.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You know, and I'm sure that other people have to probably go to lunch too. And so since it's like 10:40 here in Iowa and other places, and so, but we were so happy that we could all get together today and celebrate. It's always one of my favorite days. And I kicked it off celebrating with Brianna, actually, my daughter, all the way in Belgium. And so that was really fun too. So I think she's listening as well today. So lots of things to celebrate. Yeah. So thank you guys for joining us. And I can't wait till we plan our next fun celebration.
Come on, remember, you can be whoever you want to be, whatever you want to be it. Bye. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for being here on Dot Day.
Dot Day. Goodbye, Shannon and Mr. Forbes, and all children everywhere.
Bye.